Yep. I am. So if you're in, if you just want to welcome everyone and tell them that, I can't, I am, I am beyond at this point. I don't understand. You.
Mommy has to listen to a work meeting while we're doing this.
So good morning to all you smiling faces out there and beautiful photographs to look at. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. This is Cheryl from the Office of Public Instruction, working as the Deputy Superintendent, and we have a full agenda that we will ask our folks to get up here for you shortly with several topics that we're going to be going through with you. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our folks that are prepared to provide presentations to you. I'll be back with you a bit later along with Jay Phillips, as we have been working on CSCT, and we have some data that we'd like to share with you around that particular topic. So happy December 14th to you, and we'll get started.
All right, I think that's me to get started today. So good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Kirksey. I am the ESSER Program Manager, and I'll be presenting today also for my colleague, Janie Solomon, who can't be here with us today.
And so I'd like to be seen.
So I'll start with the EANS update. So give me a second to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so just a brief overview of where we're at with the EANS funds, and remember this is federal COVID relief dollars for non-public schools. Just to walk you briefly through the table, I won't do extensive because we do this every month with you, but just so you can see the total allocation for EANS 1 is there at just over 12 million. About 200,000 of that is set aside for administrative uses. And so there's about 12.6 that was available for distribution. Total award estimate is about $6.5 million. That's what we expect to send out. That might also be called a budgeted amount, and so that directly relates to budgets that have been submitted by applicants. And about half of that, we anticipate that we will revert back to GEARS funding, go to the governor's office for to be distributed in a different way. And where we're at to date, we have about 820,000 of those dollars have been expended. So let me shift. I have to look at my colleague Janie's talking points here a little bit. New guidance came out from the Department of Education on the 17th of September of this year, and an additional needs survey was made available to all EANS 1's applicants. This allowed for current applicants the ability to list additional needs in the areas of services, learning supplies, items, and materials. The deadline for this survey was November 22nd of 2021. Those responses are currently being reviewed. So it's basically a chance to go back to original applicants to see if they have further needs that we can meet. The ESSER 2 intent to apply, EANS 2, wrong hat for a moment. Those funds went live on the OPI website. All interested non-public school, including homeschool, can find instructions for the application on the OPI's website. If you go right to the main page, you'll see a red button that says EANS information, and that takes you to the EANS site. Eligibility requirements for ARPA EANS funds differs from the Coronavirus and Relief Support Appropriations Act, known as EANS 1. Applicants will be asked to take a short survey to determine their eligibility. These requirements include meeting a 40% poverty level, as well as residing in a Montana county that has been severely impacted by COVID. So that's the update on where we're at with the EANS process. I'll transition to ESSER, and this is where I live. So just to give you an update on where we're at with ESSER funding, as you'll see from the chart, we continue to see applications come in and go up and hit the levels that we're expecting them to hit for ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. So we're really working with the ESSER 3 pool, trying to get all of those applicants in. You might remember the last time we met, we were looking at about $30 million about $30 million spent to date. That's gone up to 32. It's really important to remember on ESSER 1 that the tidings period ends and the financial obligations need to be met by September 30th of 2022. So that means that we have about 8 months to spend $8 million. Or to obligate $8 million. We actually have until about November 10th to actually liquidate those funds. Just encourage you to your various members and constituencies groups, keep that date in front of them. We're doing some targeted communication on our end, but that is an important one. We want to be able to maximize the use of all of those funds. We are seeing pickup in spending in ESSER 2, and you'll remember ESSER 2, its obligation period is a year earlier than ESSER 3, and so funding for ESSER 3 is really just starting to pick up. It's been slow to start, but part of that is because schools are still trying to spend down their ESSER 1 and their ESSER 2 budgets. So. No big shift in usage from what we've discussed in prior months. So just to further clarify, for those of you who might be joining us for the first time, this green column, the reason it's green is because these percentages are actually based on actual expenditures. And these that are in yellow are percentages based on budgets to date. So, this is how school districts have actually spent their ESSER $1. This is how they are anticipating to spend their ESSER 2 and $3. So just a couple other brief updates on the ESSER front. What schools are working on right now is completing their plan updates for both their safe return and continuity of services plan, as well as their district ARP-ESSER plan. Those updates are due this Friday. And so schools have been working on that, and we've been in good communication with them about that. And then just yesterday, we rolled out the federal data collection. That will actually take place over the month of January, but we wanted to get that information in the hands of our school districts before the holidays so they could start to get oriented to those requirements. And then we'll also be offering pretty robust technical support through the month of January. So, and all that will be available on our website. So, any questions on ESSER and EANS?
Thank you, Jeff, and good morning all. I'm very, very pleased that before the calendar year closes out, we get to share the great experts and the information that we have here at the Office of Public Instruction. So what I would like to do now is I'd like to turn this over to Ken Bailey, And Ken on the agenda is going to be discussing the Legislative Interim Budget Committee with Section E that we have tomorrow. And we do have our experts that are here that are also going to be giving this information. Thank you for your patience. And here we go.
Scroll down, Brian, down to
Yes.
3 o'clock.
So I do have, let's go back up to 9 o'clock. Pad, since I've got you here, everybody who doesn't know, Pad is someone who works in legislative services and staffs a lot of the education committees. And I've known you since I was a legislator, and I appreciate your expertise. On the discussion at 9 o'clock with the Montana Indian Language Preservation, MILP, and with ILIP, do you have any other information, Pad, that you can share with us on the good work that happened in the last legislative session and what requests they might have?
Good morning, everyone, and Superintendent. And just to clarify, I staff the policy committees, not the budget committees, but I see Chairman Beatty of the budget committee is in this meeting. I don't know if he wants to address that question or any of the fiscal staff.
Thank you, Pat. I wanted to start with you first. Good morning. Representative Beatty, not to put you on the spot, but maybe kind of. Is there anything that you can share with the good education advocates that we have today regarding tomorrow's agenda item, 9 o'clock?
Well, thank you, Superintendent. And you did put me on the spot. Good. It's a good thing I'm about to get on the road to come to Helena, but I decided to hold up on my departure until I sat through your meeting here. I'm not going to elaborate on this very much further. Just the background is that the Montana Indian Language Preservation Program was a program that was formerly run under the Department of Commerce, and in legislation that was passed in the last session, that mission was transferred to the and the funding that went with it was passed to the OPI. So my committee has some oversight responsibility since it was our companion bill that affected that particular transfer. Right now, it has become apparent to at least some of us, and I think this is probably a consensus view for our committee, is that for this particular program to be successful, it's going to take a good deal of interaction and support at the grassroots level. To that end, one of my fellow members of the committee, Representative Jonathan Windyboy, at the direction or at the behest of our committee, organized a conference to engage stakeholders. And I know that the superintendent attended that conference, as did I, and a number of other people on this call. I think it was very good to kind of air out what some of those concerns are. I expect that Representative Windyboy will be making a full report on that, on his work to date, so that we can kind of scope out what the challenge is. And it is our hope that that the information that we're able to compile by our committee will help provide useful information to the OPI as they run this program. And perhaps we can work in conjunction with the superintendent in areas where tweaking of legislation may be necessary to have the most effective Indian language preservation program we can have. And I'll close with just one thing. Indian language preservation, to me, is not an optional activity for us in the state government, because the Montana Constitution does put a very direct burden on us to, in our educational goals, to see to the preservation of Indian culture, and language is inherent to culture, and hence this is an important duty. And we're confident that the Office of Public Instruction, led by Superintendent Arnston, will be able to pull this program off, and perhaps even take a look comprehensively at some other related programs that already exist, like Indian language immersion programs, which probably would work in concert with this. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, we're in the information gathering stage, but the hope is to go to the next legislative session with the legislature prepared to support the plan that the superintendent develops in this particular area. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Representative. A+, please travel safe. We'll see you tomorrow for sure. Thank you. Any questions you might have on to the OPI regarding anything dealing with the Montana Indian Language Preservation or the immersion program? Thank you. I don't want to go too speedily. I do know we have Angela McLean on. Angela, not to put you on the spot either, but you are also on the agenda at 11 o'clock. I don't know necessarily personally, but is there anything that the OPI or any of us in the advocate world can aid you in the presentation dealing with the Commissioner of Higher Ed tomorrow?
So I can't speak to anything right now at this point. I can tell you it's not me making the presentation, but I think all is well here in the Montana University system and folks are looking forward to the visit.
Excellent. I think it's going to be a robust day tomorrow, as well as it's going to be the next day when the full finance committee gets together. Good to see you. Good morning, Angela. All right, let's scroll down. And I do know that we have the Board of Public Ed. I believe is McCall on.
I'm here.
Thank you, McCall. Is there anything we can aid you with, or anyone that is also an advocate on the call to help you with the presentation tomorrow, or in support, or in any information?
I don't think so. We'll be talking about teacher licensure fees and standards of accreditation. So it'll be a good day.
That'll be a good day for sure. Okay, let's go to ours, and I'm going to pass this one over to Ken. And we do have our experts. I know it says a lot of OPI staff that'll be here, but we have honed that down to our experts. So Ken, let's go ahead and we'll let you go ahead and lead this discussion. Good morning.
Thank you and good morning to everyone. So Julia Patton will be going over the standard quarterly financial report for Section E for the OPI. On the update on COVID-19 funding, will include both what Jeff just went over this morning with you guys, plus more detailed information of each grant that Jay Phillips will go over. It's the same format as the last meeting. On the update on implementation of CSCT, Cheryl Allen and Jay will be reviewing where we're at with that and all the issues that are associated with it. On the update on the implementation of HB 206, again, Cheryl will go over a document that has all the payments that we've made so far this year. And again, a few issues that have come up.
And for all, House Bill 206 had to deal with in-state treatment, and it was the move.
State tuition.
Yes, and state tuition. Thank you, Ken. And it was the move forward. Thank you.
Then the fall enrollment and potential implications to the budget. Paul Taylor is really, we have a document already posted on our website that shows the impact of increases in enrollment for all of the schools and the funding that's attached with that. That's on a preliminary basis because schools have until December 31st to update their enrollment. But early in January, we'll finalize that sheet. And again, what Paul's going to do is go over the kind of summary of what that means in terms of the amount of money that we'll use from existing ESSER allocations to schools, how much we'll use of the $1.2 million, short answer, all of it, that was appropriated to help out schools that had a need. And then lastly, the amount of base aid that is the final layer of funding that gets associated with that. Then Paul is also going to go over the options for funding K-12 enrollment increases. And this is basically something that a couple of people have worked with Paul on who are here today about should we be looking at and what are the options for changing possibly the process for funding enrollment increases at Montana schools. Lastly, I'll say a brief update on staffing levels for the database modernization project and then all of the Indian education programs. And we'll provide current status on staffing for those things. So let me pause there and see if anyone has any questions about the plans for the For the committee, I should have started by saying we hope to have all these documents up to LFD this afternoon, so that they'll be posted on the meeting materials for the meeting.
Any questions you might have of any of these bullet points that are on the screen? We do have our experts available if you had any further questions. And I do want to give a big shout out to Pat again. Thanks, Pat, for your help with Mr. Taylor regarding a couple of those bullet points and moving forward. Excellent. All right, let's go back to our agenda then. Thank you, Ken. Excellent. All right, good morning again. We have Deputy Allen and a little bit more information. I know Mr. Phillips is also on. This is, we put CSCT, which is the mental health program that services in our public school systems for our children. And it was given to the OPI through Medicaid reimbursement this last legislative session. And we've been working really hard with a partnership with DPHHS, with our third-party providers, as well as the providers, which are our school system serving our children. So Cheryl, please.
Thank you. I want to do a little bit of screen sharing with you this morning because I believe the data is telling a story that we are all interested in. So the first slide, and this will all be sent out to you, shows the trend line of number of students served since 2003 through 2021. I'm going to give you some updates on 22 here in a second. It also shows with us since 2010 the number of CSCT school districts. And you can see in 2010 we were at 77, and in 2021 we dropped back to 77. Then we have the number of CSCT teams. These are the teams in our schools that are supporting our districts. And again, back in 2010, there were 203 teams. So what makes up a team? A team is your licensed social worker or therapist plus a behavioral specialist. And I'll talk about what that shift looks like. So 203, you can see the high got up to about 353 in 2016, then dropped back down to 302 at the end of 2021. Now here's the numbers for 2022 that I want to share with you. The number of students served as of December, we just got this data from DPHHS, is 2,029 students. That's a drop from the same time in 2021 of 598 students, where that was 2,627. So we're seeing that full year of the pandemic here. The number of school districts participating dropped from 68 to 50. And then the number of CSCT teams dropped from 268 to 193. And just like you were asking the questions around this data of factors. So I'll give you a couple suppositions. One of the changes that has happened in fiscal year 2022 was the change of the definition of a team. So a team could be one licensed social worker, and they could have 2 behavioral specialists. In other words, doubling the teams with that. So we're not seeing that as a factor that we know, but we're going to query that deeper to see if this shift is more significant. We also know in fiscal year 2022, which we're living in, that the funding mechanisms changed. And so we want to make certain we're querying all these elements with our school districts that are serving. We know another factor that's in play is that our third-party providers have been dropping districts. And one of the key reasons is because they can't find those mental health workers in the field to support this. And in visiting with them and in visiting with DPHHS, they indicated this is a challenge everywhere. So we know there's multiple factors that we're going to have to all work together to address. The other question folks have been asking about is the bridge funding. The bridge funding is the $2.2 million designated by the legislature to help us move from the former funding by the legislature and soft match to where the districts are required to have that hard match. And so funding through November of 2021 was $1.2 million. I want you to keep in mind that that's not the full dollar amount, because providers have up to 365 days to submit bills. This is just the bills that have been submitted. So there could be bills between July and November that hadn't been submitted yet. So just keep that in mind. We're hopeful and confident that this funding will get us through December and hopefully into parts of January. That's that outlier, is what are those bills that haven't been submitted yet. The last thing I thought I would share with you are the number of meetings and communications. We've held 14 virtual meetings with our CSCT partners, our school districts, our co-ops that work in this realm. We've also held 17 individual training sessions for individuals. This does not include the phone calls that have come in as well. On top of that, we've held 5 third-party sessions to date. That does not include the one-on-one phone calls. And we've had 4 legislative subcommittees we've presented to, and you. So we continue to work. We've got meetings on Thursday of this week, superintendents at 9 a.m. and clerks at 9:30 for Q&A sessions with them as well. But I thought you would be interested to see the data that we have received from DPHHS this month.
Any questions you might have of Cheryl?
And I'll toss it over to Jay, who I know has got a couple other things to share.
Perfect.
Thank you, Deputy Allen. Good morning, everybody. So just real quick, one of the things that we are going to address in the interim education meeting tomorrow is some of the concerns that we're hearing from the field in regards to the program. Primarily, it's going to be wrapped around sustainability of the program. Some of the things that we're hearing from the field is concerned with the actual cost of the program. And as Deputy Allen had touched on, the third-party provider services that certain ones are pulling out of some of the rural areas. And so some of the things we want to present to the committee for a topic is that, one, with the cost of the program, we have started discussions with our partners at Department of Public Health and Human Services and exploring the option of coming up with going back to what they call the Certified Public Expenditure Match program. The difference between that program versus what we're actually implementing right now with the intergovernmental transfer is that that IGT process requires a hard match, or the schools to actually put up cash to meet the match requirement, which is a new requirement for the schools. And so we've heard from the schools that a lot of them really would prefer to go back to that Certified Public Expenditure program. Again, primarily there is some work that they have to do locally for documenting their expenses that are related to the program, but that program does not require any kind of hard match or cash that needs to be transferred to the state and then back to them. So we're looking at potentially trying to get something like that implemented. The other thing we're going to talk about and discuss is the third-party provider issue, about them pulling out of some of the rural areas. Some of the schools are worried about having the ability of providers there to provide services for those kids that need it. OPI is looking at a couple things. One, we have been reaching out to the providers within those regions to see if we can help to get them to commit to go into those areas that they don't have services. So we're working with that with our partners. And then as well as we're also looking at exploring options of establishing an actual mental health center that OPI could help administer, that would be able to serve those rural areas where those third-party providers actually pulled out or decided to discontinue services. And so we'll also address some of the other concerns in regards to admin, but sustainability will be some of the key things that we want to talk about in our meeting tomorrow. So, and I'll turn it back to you guys.
Any questions you might have of Mr. Phillips? If you'll remember when this all began in the discussion, I think February during the last legislative cycle, it's not been quite a year, and a lot of solutions have come forward. There still are some challenges, and we need to make sure that we all come together. So at the meeting tomorrow, or if there's any other issues that you would like to bring to us or solutions, please, you've seen the experts of Mr. Phillips and with Deputy Allen. Thank you for keeping children in your hearts. Let's move to the next one then, which is the licensing system migration. And this is a celebration. And a lot of work has gone behind the scenes on this. We have some experts here, and I have Dr. Merkel. Julie, if you'd like to begin and introduce ZAM.
Good morning, everyone. It is good to see you today. Joining me today are Zam Aladina, who's the project manager for the new data modernization for the educator licensing system, and the Montana OPI licensure director, Crystal Andrews. So I'm going to turn it over to Zam to introduce himself to you as the project manager and to share with you about our new system. And then we'll have Crystal come on to share with you the process of what we're doing as we go through the migration. So Zam, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everyone. I am Zam Aladina, project manager for the licensure system. Good to have everyone here, and I'm going to give a brief overview of what we're doing, where we're at, and just what the system is going to be doing moving forward. And so this really is a future state. So if you want to go to the next slide, Crystal. So that's just the contents. The meat of it really is in the next one. So we'll talk about some of the benefits from our slides here. So if we can go to the next slide, that's great. Thank you. So currently right now, we do have a lot of risk associated with the current system. Everybody who's interacted with it, whether you're on the front end or the back end, realizes, there is not a lot of automation right now because of a lot of the manual processes. There's a lot of bottlenecks that are occurring and lack of visibility in regards to where the applications are in the process, from both the administration side and from the user side. So right now, in terms of the benefits of the new system, it is a fully web-based interface and also has cloud technology. So what that means basically is all the maintenance of an on-site premises system is going to be taken away. So that maintenance, management, and the costs associated with that will be going away as this moves to the cloud. And really, when you think about modernization, this is exactly where systems are right now and moving towards. One of the main areas of and the benefits within the system, like I talked about, is the automation. So from a workflow management perspective, you have your renewals, reinstatements, suspensions, upgrades, adding endorsements. These of this in this area really is all automated on the new system, as opposed to today where there is a lot of broken processes, including some automation, some manual. And so this really takes the pressure off of the the administrators, the ones who are actually evaluating the applications, as well as those who are submitting applications. And what this really does is it ties everything together. So it really centralizes those workflows, those processes, so that at any given point, whether you're an educator, whether you're an administrator of the system on the OPI side, or a specialist, you know exactly what's happening with the application, where you're at. And once again, this is going to be truly beneficial when it comes to the cost and the time of actually going from end to end of an application. One of the main benefits of this system moving forward is integration. So being able to capture not only data, but also work with other systems as you move forward, as you realize there's a need to tie into either another agency, another system, or other types of data. And so really, the data component of it is, really the meat here, which basically is being able to do a lot of your analytics. And the reporting mechanisms within this application is a lot more powerful than what we're currently using today. And what that means is being able to understand your key performance indicators, your metrics regarding your end-to-end cycle, and therefore at the end of the day be able to make better business decisions in terms of what needs to be addressed and when it needs to be addressed, and the speed at which items and issues are going to be addressed is going to be a lot quicker in the system moving forward. That also brings me to the management side of the system. Typically in any older system, in our current system, there's a lot of configuration that's going to be required from a developer standpoint, from a vendor standpoint. In the new system moving forward, everything is data and workflow centric. So what that means is there is administration component to this application, which allows the administrators of the OPI side to make any changes to the workflow, to the process without going to development. And once again, you are saving costs by being able to do that and being able to proactively do that on the fly. So once you realize what those needs are, what certain changes need to occur, you can actually do that. And when I say you, the OPI administration can actually do that on the back end. So once again, there is these main benefits, and I didn't want to go through all the points. I wanted to keep it there, for your if you wanted to look at this after. But these are some of the main points right now in terms of benefits for this system. So if you want to go to the next slide. And so when we think about the system, one of the main components is, who is this vendor? Who is going to be delivering this? Randa Solution has been around for over 20 years. They are in the education space, specifically in licensure system. And one of the reasons, besides the fact that their technology, their organization was really above and beyond a lot of what the clients that were that bidded on this RFP, was the fact that they also have implemented in 3 other states, Tennessee, Colorado, and Kentucky, in terms of educator licensure system. So not only do they have the technology, not only do they have the background, but they're doing the exact same licensing application in other states. So they are a leader within this field. And not only that, they also contribute a lot to the technology behind licensure systems. So this is really, it was a win-win situation when we looked at Randa, what they've done, and where we wanted to go. And just also to let you know, a company like Randa is not a Microsoft. They're not a Google, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but they do offer a lot more catered services and a lot more attention when it comes to the client relationship, based on the information that we've looked at in terms of their clientele and what they're doing. So we're actually in a really good spot with them. They're in a great spot in terms of where they are company size wise, and we've had a positive experience working with them at this point right now. Want to go to the next slide, please? And so, the last slide, I just want to talk about modernization. And so as we look at modernization, what does that really mean? It's not just technology, it's being able to service, your clientele, being able to administer, manage the changes that are required at any given moment without having a dependency of working with a vendor specifically to make those changes in place. And so all these key points of modernizations really are touched upon as we look at the future state of the licensure system, from the automation to the data, being able to be more of an enterprise-wide type of system, which basically is your interactions with other database. And then being able to deliver, and that's the key point here is modernization is all about delivering. And so we're really excited. I'm excited to work with the team, as I have been. I definitely look forward to our next steps in our deployment. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Julie.
Thank you, Zam. I appreciate it. Crystal, our licensure director, if you want to go ahead and kind of share what that means as we move through implementing the new system for processing our licenses. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Myrtle. And as Superintendent Arson said, this is an exciting time in licensure. I'm sure you'll see that as I go through this presentation. It's been a long time coming, and we are just thrilled. And we just would really like to stick with just being excited and getting answers to questions that you have. So what I have prepared are some of those questions that we're getting in the field, and just some more information. So thank you so much for having me today. So a quick overview and preparation, some key dates. December 31st of this year, MSIS will be closing to the public. And starting in January through May 6th, we will be accepting complete paper applications. And then the most exciting date is June 1st of next year, 2022, we will be launching the new system. So I'll go through each piece just briefly. Again, all of this information is on our webpage, along with an FAQ that is very detailed as well. But for renewals, teacher renewals, there are two options starting January 1st through May 6th. You can, an applicant complete a paper application and mail the hard copy in along with the payment, or they can wait until June 1st when the new system is up and running. As you know, teacher renewals expire June 30th of the year, so 2022, but there also is a 2-month grace period so that those that are taking courses in the summer can use those courses for their license. So they actually have until August 31st of 2022 to get those renewals done. Our fall 2021 Montana College and University grads, there are 3 options. So before December 31st, they can apply online as is and mail in their email documents through February 28th of 22. After December 31st, when MSIS is shut down to the public, through May 6th, they can submit the paper application for initial licensure. The Montana College or University, the EPP's representative will be able to complete the university recommendation form that they need to fill out through MSIS until February 28th, 2022. And after that, after February 28th, a college or university representative will need to submit a paper university recommendation. And then the other option is to wait until the new system is active on June 1st. But knowing new teachers, and I was one long ago, will be anxious to get those licenses. So paper application will be the best route for that. So for new applications, upgrades, and reinstatements, before December 31st of this year, you can apply online as is and mail in documents through February, again, February 28th. And then after December 31st to May 6th, they can submit a paper application, again, a complete paper application for initial licensure. Incomplete applications will not be accepted. And what that means is that we need all of the supplementary materials, the character and fitness, all of the pages that go with the application before we can complete that application. Any open applications, truly, an applicant should try to get documents submitted through MSIS prior to the shutdown on December 31st. We at the office are going to be contacting and have been on a weekly basis. A message goes out through the MSIS system to these applicants with open applications stating what they're missing or what documents still need to be in their application before it can be complete. So that's been going on. Forever and in terms of that email going out on Wednesdays. But what we will be doing here in my unit is reaching out and, trying to get in touch with these applicants and saying, you have this document to still submit, can we help you with that? And, if you want to get this done before the date, or you may mail it in after January 1st and just have that communication piece there as well. And then again, after the 31st of this month, they would need to mail a document through February 28th. So I am excited, and this is a key point, and you've met Sam already, our project manager, who has been absolutely fantastic to work with through this whole process, and Dr. Mergel, who we couldn't do this without as our senior manager. But I do have a staff of 3 as of October. So we have expanded here in the licensure world. Becky Flanagan has been with licensure for over 20 years. So she has extensive knowledge and background and has been key in all of this upcoming exciting change. Lori Weiss is another licensure specialist who's been here for 15 plus years as well. So they are a team of 2 that have done it all, and you have, bounce off of each other. And I think they actually finish sentences for each other at this point. And we have gotten Virginia Diaz on board starting in October. She's worked in the licensure world and has helped here for over a year, but she came into our team permanently in October. So that has only helped increase our productivity, but also our knowledge base, and going forward and anticipating all that's to come with paper applications, and you know, it's going to be a lot of work on our end, but we are super excited and we can't wait to get things moving forward. So there is a part of an FAQ, and I don't know how much you want me to go into, but this is all again on our licensure webpage with all the answers. So, you know, it explains why we are getting our new system. Sam has gone over a lot of this. We are going into a new and innovative licensure system that has been effective in other states. We will not need to be loading things as we do. It'll be tying to the practice in the Department of Justice. That'll all go into the system, and we won't have to have that part on our end. So it will help increase productivity and ease the licensure specialist workflow. Why is it shutting down? We are working with the Randa Solutions team to create a more efficient and streamlined and user-friendly teacher licensure system. The main reason is to provide the necessary time for Randa and the OPI to transfer a complete set of data, and that is key. We want to make sure we get all the applications that are in the MSIS system right now to be complete, so that they can move forward in that that migration of data into the new system. I've already touched on this. If you need to renew a license, the best thing to do starting January 1st is to send in that completed paper application that you can find linked on the FAQ in on our webpage, and you will be expecting those starting January 1st of the year of it expiring, which is 2022 through May 6th. And from there, if an applicant does not want to take the time to do the paper application, they will have time starting June 1st with the new system to get that license renewed. How do you pay the fee while the system is shut down? You will need to mail in a check or money order to the amount due to the office, and it is super helpful to make that attention to the education licensure team just so that it can get to us. And we do have a resource online that helps with this process along with checklists for each type of license. And a big question we're getting, and some information that has gone out that we want to clear up, is that if someone can renew before the 1st of the year, and the answer is no. We need to wait till the January 1st of 2022, simply because that is the year that the license expires, and because we're on a 5-year cycle. If you do it before that year, it would not work with the 5-year cycle. So we are anticipating a lot of applications in January, and we will be ready for that. And again, the licenses don't expire till June of next year, and there is that 2-month grace period, so the applicants will have plenty of time to get that done. I think that was answered. I think a big piece is just the communication. As of right now, applicants can go on MSIS and check to see what they are missing if they have an open application. We also have our email that we are diligently trying to get through and get more updated. And then we have office hours with our licensure specialists that phones are ringing, and these are the questions that are coming in. So that's why we keep adding to the FAQ any questions that are consistently coming in and updating it regularly. So it's important to keep checking back with that FAQ because it will continue to be updated. And I think that is it for now. Again, all of this information is on our webpage, and I just want to thank you all for your support in communicating to the field, to our educators about this exciting time. And if you should have any questions, you know where to reach us. And thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Great team there, Dr. Merkel. Thank you, Crystal, and thank you, Sam. Any questions that you might have of us at this time? I do know in the chat box, it was requested that the documents come following. They have every time, excuse me, every time we've held a meeting. So the PowerPoint from Sam, any other information, and of course, The Esser and Ian's document will be flowing to you with the reflections and the oral recording. And these are also located on our website if you have others that need to be there. Angela, you have your hand up. How can I help?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Crystal and Julie, for the report. I think that this is a really timely conversation. I know that the field and folks in it are deeply concerned about what this looks like. A couple of concerns that I'd like to just ask about here. The first one is as we move to the submission of materials outside of the portal and do that in entirety, it seems like there will be a layer of transcripting what's on those applications that get emailed into a system there by the OPI staff. It seems like there might be a couple of layers of things, if I fully understand what's happening here. Does the OPI plan to, or have you already sought to increase staffing to handle what that additional work might look like?
Good morning, Angela. I'll answer that one. Yes, and Julie, you're on as well. If you want to talk about your team, Julie, please.
No, Superintendent, it's all yours. I was just going to say, yes, we did increase staffing in October in preparation as we start to move towards this migration. And yes, we will be working very diligently to bring in any temporary staff that might be needed.
Thank you. And so then my next question is, how do our campuses and K-12 schools who are looking to hire someone and verify credentials, how will that process look when the system goes dark on the 31st?
Yes, we will be answering phones and email and working very closely with them as we do now, and to continue to have that conversation and keep things moving so that we can provide that information to them.
And then one of the other things, you know, that we're talking about at the MUS level is how will our students who are seeking to become first-time licensees be able to determine what is still needed to complete their application in a timely fashion? One of the things we talk about is the notion of getting transcripts over to you for a certain period of time, et cetera. And so I'm just wondering about that. How would they verify what is in, what still needs to be completed?
That's one of the things, Angela, that we're excited about with the new system. It'll be better able to communicate that live, and so that teachers will be able to see this bar and metric moving forward. So they'll have to use the same process that currently is in place. As you know, with our licenses right now, half of the classes are still paper-based. The current system, MSIS, only processes 50% of the applications online. The other percent, or 50%, come through paper. So the same processes of that we currently use we will continue to do, so that if a new applicant does apply with a license, we will be connecting with them and being sure that they get that process. A specialist will be reviewing their documents as they always do, and be reaching out to them if they have any questions, and contacting them if they're missing anything from that application to say, this is the piece that I still need in order for me to complete your application. That's why we're really encouraging folks to send a full packet in the mail that has all of the documents in it. And so then we will have that ready to go. And so that piece will be, as soon as they get that packet, they start reviewing it, it'll be a very personalized touch between the specialist and the licensee. As we do currently, we communicate frequently with our candidates as to what is needed and have that conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Merkel. Thank you. Go ahead, Angela, one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. So just a couple things. So I really appreciate that. And then the only ask I would ask of the OPI is, as this process materializes into the year and our students seek licensure, I guess keep us informed, and I guess stay abreast of what that processing time is looking like. And if you need to take a look ahead of a significant backlog and bring on more staff, I would ask that you be open-minded to do that. And then just, could you walk through one more time, Crystal? I took a picture of the slide as to how this impacts our colleges and university grads, but I'm just wondering if you could speak to that one more time and just make sure that that is clear, what's going to happen on that front.
Yeah, and Angela, before Crystal jumps in and answers, I do want you to know she's already scheduled to meet with the Montana Councils of Deans in January to do a very thorough presentation of just the process and the ongoing work with our directors and the representatives at the colleges as well. And certainly all of the information that Crystal shared here today is already live up on our website. And she has directly emailed and shared and been in communication with our college representatives about that information and have provided them that FAQ and been taking any questions that they've had so that we can continue to keep them informed. So, but I'll let her add if there's something that she wanted to, but I do want you to know we've already scheduled a time to be with them.
Thank you, Dr. Mergel. And I've put the slide back up. So is there a specific question, Angela, that you still have or just wanted to see it again just to? So the Montana colleges and university representatives will be able to do their university recommendations through MSIS until February 28th, 2022. And then after that date, they will have to do the paper university recommendation and can email that directly to one of the specialists, as they all have relationships with our specialists here. So that's being done, already.
Thank you, Crystal. Angela, any further questions? And again, just to reiterate, the things are on our website. They have been on our website for a period of time. The other thing is, right when you open up our website, we're going to put on a button that is going to aid our school districts, aid our Council of Deans, and our new licensees and everyone in this time period. Just to also share, remember the old system, 50% of the licenses we did was paper and pencil. And 50%. So what we're moving then is just another 50% to move to that digital world on that cloud where we have much more nimble accessibility for those school districts that do hire those teachers, but also enable what I'm looking at as this to be able to toggle on professional development so that we know who you are as a teacher, we know where you teach, we know what you teach, and therefore, let us aid you in the Learning Hub. What an awesome thing if we also did the Digital Academy so that teacher could then see what they could aid their students with in that realm of who they teach. So there's multiple opportunities moving forward and spot on. It's all about communication. So the more that any of your associations or constituencies have questions or queries, we're here. We don't know what we don't know. So please share with us any of those. And we'd be more than happy to seek that answer. I see Diane.
There you go.
Yes.
Deputy
Allen.
Another hand up with, I think, Diane there.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. My first question is probably goes to Crystal or whomever cares to answer it. And that would be, you mentioned that the emails go out to folks with incomplete applications. For instance, I've gotten a question often that says, I've uploaded my renewal units. And so what happens? Will I have to upload them again? And so rather than my answering all those questions, I'd like to have that maybe on the frequently asked questions. But then I'll ask you, as you get in contact with those partially completed applications, do you think you'll be able to connect with everyone who has partially uploaded documents to let them know specifically for them personally what they need to do? Julie's shaking her head yes.
So Diane, I think a couple of things that are really important. And so when someone currently applies into MSIS in the current system and they put in their application, they pay. And then they start uploading documents. And what happens is with those supporting documents is the system sends an automated response every Wednesday and until all of those documents are received. And so it just keeps going out. that's the process that we put in this last year to just really try to keep that communication open within the current system. That is different than renewal. So for a renewal, you go in, you submit the renewal, and then you input what are the professional development activities that you participated in, you pay your fee, and then renewal is generated. So the same thing is going to happen, but in the paper version, where you complete that same set of questions that you complete in MSIS for your renewal, you list out your professional development, you pay your fee, and you send it in. Currently, what we do is we audit renewals. We take a look at the evidence and request the evidence right now for the items that are listed from 1 out of every 25 renewals. So even right now in the current system, Diane, they just list in MSIS the activities that they participated in, whether they were a professional development renewal unit activity or a credit course that they had taken. And then we just take a look at that and we print and send that application out. And then 1 out of every 25, we request that the candidate send in documentation and evidence to support all of those activities, the certificates from those activities. So that is going to be the same process that we will use in this interim period here between January 1st and May 6th, where we will just ask them to do the exact same thing, but on paper. List your name, what's the activities you participated in, answer some questions about character and fitness, and submit that with the fee. And then when we get those, every 1 out of 25, we will send a letter that we send asking them to then submit any necessary documents for evidence in the audit process. But I want to stress again that that is not a new process. That is the same process that has been in place for a long time for renewal.
Thank you, Julie. And I do understand that it is one that's been done, but for some folks, it's new. I'm sorry, boy, that's rude. My other question then is probably for Zam, and that would be, I've worked to explain this to folks, and I keep getting the same response over and over, and that is, why do we have to do a complete shutdown? And I've been given examples, well, banks don't do a complete shutdown, or what this organization or that organization. And I haven't, I'd like another answer to that question. And I'm assuming Zam would be our person to answer why we need this long period of shutdown for the transition to occur properly. And then I'll put my hand down. Thanks.
No, thank you. That's actually a great question. And from a technical perspective, I can give you some details. Now, in any migration, any upgrade of systems, data, like I said, is very centric. There's going to be a big effort of migrating the data over from our current system to our new system. So what that means is at a certain point, we'll need to analyze, make sure that the data is clean. And when I say clean and has integrity, we want to ensure that everything really is where it should be in terms of data specifics. And so we want to eliminate any of the data right now that's currently being input into the system, which we really don't need when we transfer it over. That could be incorrect information, that could be duplication of accounts. So, you know, to do that, that does actually take a lot of time, considering the volume of information that we have. The duration in which it would take to do this effort, you know, can vary from a couple months to, you know, several weeks. In order to meet this very aggressive timeline that we have, really from right now until June 1st, this data migration is a big component of this effort. And so being able to shut down the system that allows the vendor to not work with dynamic data, to be able to concentrate on, you know, a very snapshotted version of the data while we're still accepting applications. So there's that effort of accepting applications, putting that back into the data at a certain point closer to the migration. And so this is really the reason from a high level that, you know, this is required. And like I said, there's a lot more technical details that really go into this, but for an effective deployment of a system of this nature, this size with this data, there needs to have a shutdown really of, you know, several weeks to, you know, a couple of months. So I hope that sort of sheds a little bit more light in terms of what you're looking for.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Zam. Any further questions? I very much appreciate the questions, the dialogue, the interaction. I think it's really important to understand where your constituencies, where our constituencies, our teachers are at this point. But another time from January until June, I understand it's not that it's the low time, but it is. The peak time is June and through that summer months. And because as Crystal said about the 5-year licensing period, we couldn't accept anything until this January of it starting. Have faith in us that we're doing what we can do. We are looking at making sure that we, of course, reflect what the field's needs are, the fields being, of course, our teachers. So it has been a long, normally our education advocates meetings don't even go to quite a half hour. And I very much appreciate all of you for being participating today, as well as asking those questions. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day for education all the way around Montana. And we're here to serve. We know that we're going to support our partners as they go up in front of that microphone with the legislators as well. If you have any questions at all on how we deploy any of these dollars that are precious federal dollars through any of the IANs to the non-public or to ESSER, we are here to stand for questions as well. Again, all of these documents will be coming to you via an email and the reflections as well. Everything is posted on our website if you'd like to do that. And we appreciate any questions that you have. Please communicate with us. We'd be more than happy to understand how it is that we can help serve you. And as this is Christmas, as this is, as the lights of Hanukkah are there and they're still bright, this is a very tremendous time for family. Our school leaders are going to be taking a break. Our teachers are going to be resting. And then they're going to be full of energy as they open that classroom door for a new year. So with that, I'm blessed to have you here on this meeting with us. Thank you all for all that you do for children and for our students. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Thank you.